Hey you guys. So I'm sorry it took me so long to finally get this video together. I think I was trying too hard to figure out the perfect way to put it together. Um I wanted the perfect spot on where I was gonna talk to you guys like this and make sure my hair was done. All the silly stuff that I never do. So I don't know why I wanted it to be different this time. So finally I was like, you know what, it's been way too long. I just gotta put it together, and who cares where it's at, and who cares what I look like. You guys know what I look like. And I'm totally just curled up in my bed. It's just comfortable, and then Tony is out in the rest of the house doing what he's got to do. So it's private. I'm still weird and don't like to do voiceovers in front of anybody, or videos like this. But anyways, let's get to the topic, and that is my journey as a dual athlete. Um, it all started, when was it? 2013. I had seen this girl that was a coworker of mine at a gym, um, doing pull-ups, and I was just like, oh my gosh, she looks amazing. I need to look like that. And that was it. I eventually talked to her about competing, and I originally wanted to do bikini. I was still pretty small, at least in my opinion. Well, I guess I still am really small. But, and so I was originally starting to prep for that, but then as I started prepping, and I actually started working with that girl, that my coworker, um, she had recommended figure for me that I had a good build for it and a little bit too much muscle for a bikini. So that worked out. So I did my very first show, I think it was Halloween of 2013, and I dieted for 20 weeks. I finished my prep, I think, at the same weight that I started my prep. I lost weight and then gained it back. But I mean, at that point, I didn't really care. It was my very first show. I was just doing it for fun and for the experience. And then I was in the best shape I had ever been in. So I was happy. I think I placed last, but I didn't really care. And then I stopped working with her, um, with a few more weeks until my show, and my Uncle Damon actually helped me out for the last few weeks. And then after that show, I started working with Ariel, Team Cuts, and I took off. So if my show was in the very end of October, took the rest of that year off, and then January and February, and I started prep, I think, at the end of February, and I actually had tried women's physique. So with Ariel, he was definitely nothing against the other girl that helped me, but she was more of a competitor, where Ariel was a really good coach, at least at the time. I mean, he's still a great coach, but I think for me, I just didn't ask enough questions. So I didn't really get a lot out of working with him, other than, I mean, a pro card. But I did a women's physique show. I actually don't know if I have pictures of that. I'll have to find them. I did a women's physique show out in Culver City in California. And then I think I placed sixth, so I didn't do too bad. I wasn't last place. But we did decide that I needed to go back down to figure. I was a lot smaller, not lean enough, didn't have enough muscle mass compared to the other women. So I did a figure show 2 weeks after that one, and I placed second. So that made me nationally qualified. I took the rest of 2014 off, And come February, March of 2015, I started prepping again. I worked more with Linda, Ariel's wife. Yeah, they're married now. And I competed at the USA's in Vegas in July of 2015. I didn't really think anything of it. Ariel had told me that I would be able to go pro. I didn't believe him. I really enjoyed dieting and, which is weird, but I had fun. I loved being on stage. And so come USA's, we were there. I was at the best I've ever been at. Prep was really, really tough. Really tough. I think like the last month I didn't go into work at all. Thank goodness for living at home with your parents. But, and thank goodness I had a good, like, awesome manager who didn't fire me and clients who didn't, like, bail on me. But I was on, like, the lineup on the side on stage. They called my name for first call outs. I didn't even know that they called my name. I mean, called my number. Linda and Ariel were in the crowd, like, yelling at me, Kaylee, that's you, that's you. Crazy. Like, I just didn't think anything of it. And turns out I was, like, split in the middle with another girl, and me and her became pros that day. It was awesome. It was so surreal. It didn't feel, like, real at all. And I think the best part of it was that my family was there to see it, because if you compete in any sport, especially bodybuilding, like, so many people just don't understand it and they think it's weird and crazy. So it was really cool to have my, like, parents there, my grandma, my cousin, my uncle. Like, people were there to watch me, and they were like, wow, like, this is serious. And I mean, as serious as bodybuilding can be, but it means a lot to me, and I think they were able to see it that day, finally. And then I took some time off, or no. So, like, a month after I became pro, I was 40 pounds heavier. And it was awful. But then I met Tony, and he introduced me to powerlifting. I did already want to try powerlifting, but obviously, like, I didn't know what to do or how to get into it. And then going through, like, my post-show rebound, I was lost. I didn't want to be at the gym. I, like, wanted to eat everything, but I didn't want to eat anything because I had gotten fat for me. And so he introduced me to powerlifting, and that really helped me focus less on the way I looked and how much I weighed, and more on my performance. And then, so because I was so focused on getting better at my lifts and stuff like that, everything else kind of fell into place. I was eating better. I did hire Jason Theobald as well to help me with my nutrition. So he had introduced me to macros. And so I was eating better. I was training really hard and getting stronger. And so the weight started coming off. I had gotten down to, like, the mid 120s from 140, so that was really good. And it was, like, kind of like a blessing, honestly. Powerlifting is kind of like a lifesaver in a way. Between powerlifting and Tony, I kind of fell in love with, like, the fitness industry, because I hated myself. I hated kind of, like, everything around me when I had my post-show rebound. So I was, like, reminded on, like, why I started in this journey to begin with. And it was couldn't have come at, like, a more perfect time for me. And so from the time I met Tony until now, I have done 4 powerlifting meets. And one of those is like one of the biggest powerlifting meets there is, which is the US Open. And to be honest, after doing the US Open last year, I almost didn't want to prep for my pro shows. I had fallen so in love with powerlifting and like the community. I had so much fun at the US Open. And I just wanted to get stronger.